and it's a pinwheel changing color in the house at the base of a Christmas tree. And I recently realized this exact scene occurs in The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I'm sure for Tim, he's not consciously thinking, I'm going to put a pinwheel there because it was in Nightmare Before Christmas. But Tim's imagination and Tim's creativity kind of doesn't really have a structure that he adheres to.
Ron, does he remind you of anybody, any other artist?
He reminds me of a lot of artists. I went into the Burton show with the notion that he was a goth. That was the gothic notion that many people have. And when we looked at all the work that existed, I then saw that I believe he belongs with a group of pop artists, with a generation of pop artists who were inspired by popular culture. Mid-20th century on, newspaper comics, greeting cards. He collected newspaper comics and greeting cards. He studied humor. I originally thought that I thought of him as a guy dedicated to horror, but he spent as much time studying humor as he did horror. There's a paper in the show called Humor in America that he did when he was in high school, in which you see that he's collected pages from Mad Magazine, Gahan Wilson, Angelo Torres, who was a Mad Magazine cartoonist.
What impact and involvement did he have in putting together the show?
As much as one would hope, but not more. I mean, that, again, was part of his generosity. Every time we asked him for input with the design of the show, he was happy to offer it. But he also wanted this to be a MoMA show, which I think visitors will find when they walk through the monster mouth into this kind of new arena, that while it is absolutely inside of Tim's brain, it's still a MoMA show. So we had an in-house designer who worked on the show. Basically, any time we wanted input from him, do you feel this way? Either he would defer to us and say, you guys know best, or he would come up with a new work that would help us understand what he was trying to do.
Thank you very much. This is an extraordinary exhibition, getting lots of attention. It is opened at the Museum of Modern Art here in New York, and it runs through April. When we come back, Tim Burton. Before we continue with our conversation this evening with Tim Burton, here's a look at a program on Monday night with Wes Anderson and his new film, The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Well, some are saying this is somehow a comeback for you. They look at the last two movies and they say, he's caught his wind again. Do you have any sense of that?
Well, I definitely have a sense of, you do these movies, you spend years. I say one.
Right.
Spends many years making one of these movies, and for me, I've made personal films that kind of are my whole life when I'm making the movie, and but you just have no idea until the day it is until the day people start reviewing it or the day it comes out in the theaters, what the response is going to be. And I sort of feel the same way about all my movies. They're all I cannot disassociate myself in any way. They're like my family members.
Tell me about this. You were almost a pack rat, but were not a guy who said, I'm going to carefully put this away because someday they're going to do a big collection of my art.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, there's somewhat of a misunderstanding that there's this image of me with my white gloves,
yes,
in the 6th grade, putting it in a hermetically sealed package, which is absolutely not the case. As you said, the stuff was in drawers and closets. I mean, in fact, if it weren't for the curators, Ron and Jenny, I just allowed them to go digging around.
They came to your house and started.
Yeah, they came to my house.
Your office everywhere.
Looked at everything, crawled under every rock, opened every closet, and so I mean, and I had stuff I'd never seen for years and years. It's like I don't do something and then look at it. I just kind of do it, and it just sort of lays on a desk or sits in a drawer or whatever. So they really helped reconnect me in a way. I got very excited about it. It kind of made me it's nice to reconnect from where you come from and who you are, and so it was exciting.
You started this early?
Oh yeah, well, like every kid, I think most kids draw. I mean, the fascinating thing to me is by the time, a lot of kids are 10 years old, they say, well, I can't draw. And it's just, that to me was always a very interesting signal about what society does to people, you know, like,
Yeah, right.
you can't, and I fought that all the time, because I'm not a great draftsman or illustrator. That, you know, there are many great artists, but I just always resisted and thought, I'm just gonna. At one point, I said, I'm just gonna draw. I can't draw this the way they want me to, so I'm just gonna do it. And it was kind of a mind-blowing experience for me.
If someone said to you, you are first and foremost what? A filmmaker? A what?
Well, I again feel lucky. I mean, I feel lucky. You know, when I got to make movies, I thought it was the biggest surprise in my life. You know, I mean, I'd made Super 8 films like every other kid, and you know, I like movies and stuff. But I never thought at a young age, oh, I'm going to be a filmmaker, or I'm going to be an artist. I think it was just more. My passion was just I like making things, you know. That was the cool thing, whether it be a drawing or a movie or a little writing. There was something just about making things that was the most important thing to me.
Is it different today than when you were a child?
No, I mean, I still love it. It's a very private process for me. That's the strange thing about the show. I mean, there's all stuff that was really, you know, never meant to be. It's kind of like, you know, oh, would you like to come see my, you know, dirty underwear and sock collection here? You know, so it's a very exposing. I feel quite exposed when I do a movie, and this is even more of that feeling.
When do you draw?
I just, you know,
doodle all the time. You got a pad there.
Yeah, you know, I always got my little things. I mean, I don't have anything with me, but I always carry a little something. Because,
can I see that? May I?
Yeah, sure. There's not much in there. It's just.
Well, I just want to show me this. You did this. This is what? Tell me what this is.
That's me in the opening of the MoMA show. So,
that you look at the
my cry for help.
This is psychological too, is it?
Yeah. So.
Shall I continue here?
No, there's nothing more.
Oh no. What's this?
Oh, that's just a pig. I don't know. Where did that come
So you don't
from?
know. It just did it.
I just did it. Just did that one.
So it's as much about the doing of the drawing as it is about whatever it comes
like
out?
a lot of the characters that I would do, like I remember like a long time ago, I would just be sitting here just drawing, and I drew, you know, I had a whole sketch pad of this character, you know, and then it just...
I like these. This was just in your pocket.
Well, I keep it, because I don't use a BlackBerry, I don't use a computer, I hate the phone.
At all.
No.
You don't have. You have somebody who walks around with you that has them all.
Yes. That's. Yeah. Yes. So, but you know, I mean, I drew this. You know.
All right, let me see it. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I draw him just, and then I'd have a whole thing of just like, what the hell is this? You know, and then I start to kind of go, well, there's something about this character that means something to me. You know, so it comes much more from the subconscious than it does sort of like, you know. I get worried about my intellectual mind because I find that when I'm thinking, you know, a thought, I tend to play tricks on myself.
I'm going to keep this in frame, and you'll never see this again.
Oh yeah, well, isn't that a beaut? Yes. Yeah.
Now here's what I really like. Look at this. Tell me what this means. It says 11:05, 11:35.
Yeah, and there's an exclamation point there.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
the scariest point. No, but you know, I also have in my, I kept this once because I write down people's phone numbers, but I don't write down their names. So I have this whole collection of phone numbers. Well, that's
see, the one thing you can do, though, is you
useless.
can put it in your computer, and it'll trace it. If you just got the number, and you've dialed the number for it, you can find out what it is, which was a godsend to me.
Okay,
that's a godsend to me.
Okay.
Just put it
but
in
I
there.
hate the phone, too, so I don't, you know.
Are you expressing anything here other than just contemporaneous impulses?
Yeah, well, like I said, to me, the world is so fast, and especially in the movie industry, you have to. You're always reacting, you know, to things. And the time was spent just sort of spacing out, or sleeping, or dreaming, or just looking. You know, to me, that's the most valuable time there is because that's where you do, for me, the real work. That's where things sort of, you know, mutate or bubble up, or ideas come to you, or meanings of things. I mean, again, that's why I've always liked fairy tales, folk tales. People go, well, they're not real. They're not, they're fantasy. But as we know, they're all great fairy tales. Fantasy are based in reality, so that to me is very, very important. Those moments of just, that sort of space.